Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Shraddha Karkamkar Pandre. My topic is segmental facial nerve decompression in patients of chronic suppurative otitis media with diabetes mellitus. Introduction. Decompression means opening of bonicular nerve sheath to release the pressure, and goal of decompression is to improve blood circulation and minimize damage to distal nerve fibers. Facial nerve is the largest nerve, travels in bony canal, and it has a complex course with a high susceptibility to injury. Facial palsy causes significant functional and cosmetic defects that mostly leads to great psychological impact. The primary goal of management is to increase functional recovery and minimize the cosmetic defect. Nerve decompression has to be done or not is really a surgeon's dilemma. Facial nerve function might recover after removal of etiology. So some surgeons prefer to wait and watch, and they prefer conservative management. We selectively decompress the involved facial segment, but segment along with few millimeters proximal and distal to the lesion, which is not similar to the conventional method where the subtotal nerve right from first genu to stylomastoid foramen is decompressed. Some authors have noted to decompress the labyrinthine and meatal segment because probably they are the narrowest portions of the temporal bone at which nerve conduction blockage may occur. So, subtotal decompression from labyrinthine segment to stylomastoid foramen based on their results showing reduced recurrences of facial palsy and improved recovery rates. It is generally accepted that most favorable outcomes are obtained when decompression is performed at the earliest. Aims and objectives of this study are to study need of facial nerve decompression surgery in patients of facial palsy to preserve and restore facial nerve function. Materials and methods. It is a retrospective study with patients with diabetes. We present study of 20 patients who came to our OPD with ear discharge and facial palsy grade 3 and above, in whom we did facial nerve decompression through transmastoid approach. Inclusion criteria: age more than 30 years, who consented for study, and secondary facial palsy, acute onset of symptoms, and having diabetes mellitus. Exclusion criteria did not give informed consent and history of trauma which caused facial palsy. Data was collected using a structured questionnaire. Detailed history were taken. Local examination of ear and detailed examination of cement nerve was done. Audiological investigations like pure tone audiometry and acoustic reflex test was done. HRCT temporal bone was done, which was given emphasis. By surgical intervention via transmastoid approach I did. Assessment of results were done using House-Brackman grading system, and improvement to grade 2 to 1 of facial nerve function was considered as successful outcome. These are few pictures. In first picture there is lesion and pre-op and 6 weeks post-op picture. In figure 2, this is site of lesion and pre-op and 8 weeks post-op picture. Figure 3, pre-op and post-op pictures of patients. Figure 4, lesion at first genu and pre-op and post-op pictures of patient. Here are some patients. Observations and results. Our study population included 8 males and 12 female patients. Mean age at diagnosis was 45 plus minus 14 years, and most common involved segment was tympanic segment of facial nerve. 55% of patients from our study had lesion at tympanic segment, followed by 30% patient had lesion at first genu, and only 15% of patients had lesion at vertical segment and near stylomastoid foramen. Among these, 5% of patients had complete transaction of nerve at tympanic segment. Clinically, patients were assessed to find out lesion of facial nerve before taking it for OT. All the patients had history of on and off ear discharge, with the main concern of unilateral facial palsy, which was acute. Study subjects were having grade 3 facial palsy, that is 40%, followed by grade 4, 30%. 95% of patients from the study improved with segmental facial nerve decompression along with mastoidectomy, irrespective of clinical presentation and site of lesion found intraoperatively. Decompression in these patients had additional benefit in view of clinical and aesthetic improvement and recovery, as well as less requirement of post-operative steroids. Discussion. There was always a controversy regarding if the facial nerve decompression surgery to be done or not, because in many reported cases were improved spontaneously without any surgical intervention within 6 months of presentation. There are many studies favoring facial nerve decompression. Quaranta et al. Studied 13 patients who had recovery in 78% of patients. Brody and Thompson reviewed 58 patients with incomplete paralysis. In the beginning, 8 out of 9 patients with delayed and 3 out of 5 patients with 7 months had recovered after surgical decompression. But those with immediate onset complete palsy presented poor diagnosis. Surgical approach is determined by the site of facial nerve injury and hearing status in the affected ear. Transmastoid approach, middle cranial fossa approach, translabyrinthine approach, or else transmastoid supralabyrinthine approach. In the transmastoid approach, it enables mastoidectomy with posterior hypotympanotomy, and it is simple for inexperienced surgeons like me and easy to expose the distal half of tympanic segment, facial nerve and horizontal segment, and the same was used. Intraoperatively, there was bulky and edematous nerve at the site of lesion, for which we incised the epineurium of the nerve in that particular nerve segment and few millimeters proximal and distal to it. As the patients were diabetic, there was more edema of the affected nerve segment along with granulation tissue all around the stapes, footplate and hypotympanum in maximum number of patients. Usually good reconstructive results were reported by Terzis. Decompression is performed in severe cases and at high risk of permanent total palsy, a poor diagnosis without any surgical or aggressive intervention. Segmental facial nerve decompression, in which additionally benefited the diabetic subjects in recovery. We administered steroids only intraoperatively and 1 dose on post-op day 1. Complications may be further surgical trauma to facial nerve, diminished hearing, vertigo, CSF leak, surgical site infections, and facial nerve repair is contraindicated when the motor end plate muscle unit is not functional anymore. Conclusion is early decompression is beneficial to facial nerve, so it is better to release pressure over the nerve whenever needed and not to wait and watch. It is found that diabetic patients are more prone for facial nerve palsy. There are delayed recovery of facial nerve function in diabetic patients. As all the patients in study were diabetic, there was relative contraindication for steroid use, but epidural incision of affected nerve segment reduced the need of postoperative steroid therapy. And though there are many controversies regarding the approach towards facial palsy patients, whether conservative or surgical management to carry out, only disease eradication is enough. Our study retrospectively proved the efficacy of facial nerve decompression surgery in affected patients both clinically and aesthetically. These are my references. Thank you.
You said around 5% of your patients had a complete transaction of the facial nerve. So having diabetes mellitus?
No, sir. In other study, not my patients.
Okay, I have...
in discussion, I referred to some study. That is not my patients.
But what was the cause for it, complete transaction? Unless until it is an accidental injury.
In your study, have you considered patients with ear discharge and facial nerve paralysis,
Yes.
or no Bell's palsy?
Acute onset palsy, so...
No, you have written in your inclusion criteria that the patients having ear discharge, history of ear discharge.
Yes.
So Bell's palsy need not have ear discharge, no?
Yes.
So that is not your inclusion criteria. It's Bell's palsy plus ear
Yes,
discharge, patients
yes,
with ear
yes,
discharge.
ma'am.
So you have taken all the patients
Yes, ma'am.
with Bell's palsy, CSOM, ASOM, everything, the
I
whole
have-
array of facial palsy.
Yes, ma'am. I have taken patients with CSOM, but symptoms of acute onset facial palsy.
Yes,
that
yes.
You can say Bell's
So
palsy.
in
And-
your
Yes.
when you take this as a group, there is no controversy regarding the surgery. If the patient has come with CSOM and facial palsy, there is no controversy whether you should do surgical decompression or not. You have to do. So it is not an option, it is a must. Only in Bell's there is a difference of opinion. So that is where you need the study whether it benefits or not. In CSOM patients, you cannot have an option. You have to surgically remove the disease and decompress the nerve, otherwise it's never going to improve. And that is why, see, your findings are going to be different for all these patients. They cannot be grouped together actually, because your CSOM patients is going to be a different category and your Bell's palsy patients are going to be a different category. So anyway, so the good presentation and breathless as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.